Hi everybody, welcome back. I hope you had a recuperative spring break. You got to take a little bit of a rest from your classes, catch up from lack of sleep and all that sort of stuff. So, to recap, I've graded all of your icon essays, so you all have grades on those and feedback on those. Make sure that you're looking closely at my comments in the comment box, and also clicking on the view feedback tab so that you can see where I've made edits, and note what sort of grammar errors you're making, if any, and work on looking up how to fix those, trying to be aware of preventing them in the future. I also saw that you all turned in your home history and family essays, which is awesome. Nice work. I'm hoping to have them all graded with feedback for you by the end of this week. So I'm excited to take a look at all of those. Nice work on getting those done. Okay, so first things first, there's a discussion this week on a chapter from Writing with Style. It's the chapter Middles, which is after getting launched. And I'm taking a look at this chapter as a preparation for starting on the final research essay for this class. So let me tell you about the discussion, and then I'll get into the research essay. So, the discussion is about the how and what of writing an analysis paper, a research paper of a sort. It's about how do you go about making an argument about a topic, whether that's a topic of debate in politics or social science, or if you're debating a play. For example, the chapter uses an essay about William Shakespeare's Antony and Cleopatra, and it says, this is how I interpret the play. So it's an argument in that way. There's a few questions about it. So some of the questions include, well, what is the analogy that Trimble uses in this essay to compare it to how we make an argument? He says that making an argument in a paper is similar to making an argument in a different location or style. So what is that? What are the parts that make up this analogy? How do they relate to an argumentative essay? So you can answer that. Number two is he has a checklist of the things that you need for a successful essay. What are those? And explain what each one does and why it's important. Question three is, what are the steps that a strong writer takes in prepping for and writing an essay, as outlined in the section of a hypothetical case? What's the work that you do before you write an essay in order to develop a strong argument? Trimble talks about it in this chapter. I'm also going to break it down in my other lecture later this week as we get started on the essay. So it's in here. I'm going to also review it again. There's also a second essay in this that Trimble explains has a very strong thesis statement. You can answer, why is the thesis statement so strong? What is it about it that makes it so clear? This essay also provides a lot of great reasoning and evidence to back up its points. Why are they strong pieces of evidence? How is it presented correctly? So, like all the discussions, in order to get full credit, provide a full, complete answer. Make sure that it's original and unique. And if someone's already answered a question, either answer another question or answer the same question but in a different way. So that's in Writing Style. Read the chapter, do the discussion, we'll be good to go. Okay, so the major writing assignment for this course is going to be an essay on a major social problem. I'll pull this up, although it might not give you the most detail. It's probably easier to listen to the explanation. This is the major writing assignment for the course. It's going to be approximately 6 pages in length with a works cited page. The essay is going to be centered on solving a major social problem. And this could be any number of things. Just a list to get started. You could talk about any controversial major problem. So this could be gun violence. This could be legal immigration. This could be homelessness, capital punishment, sexual harassment, video game addiction, maybe even something like, genetic modification of humans. Or even genetic modification of plants and animals. It could be any number of topics. It could be, do video games cause violence? It could be, should we outlaw human cloning? Well, it is outlawed, but should it remain outlawed? It could be anything. It doesn't have to be any of these topics, but it has to be something that's a major social problem. You have to provide a solution to a social problem. So, how do you come up with that? That's the first step to this essay. And what I want to encourage you all to do is come up with a problem that you're interested in. Come up with something that you want to learn about and want to write about. Maybe come up with a problem that affects you and your community. Maybe deal with a problem that impacts you as a college student. It doesn't have to be, as controversial or as difficult to solve as some of these. It can be something smaller. And you may find, if you choose one of these, that you're going to have to narrow your topic down a little bit. You're going to have to talk with a specific part of homelessness. Maybe homelessness in the Bay Area, or homelessness in San Jose, or health problems caused by homelessness, or something like that. So you may have to narrow it down even more. But it can be whatever you want, as long as it's addressing a major social problem. The other thing to keep in mind here is this paper is due at the end of the semester, so you have 7 weeks to write it. You're not going to be doing it all at once. We're going to do it step by step, just like every other piece of writing. So, first things first, we want to brainstorm what you want to write on. That's the first part of this. So when you're finished, you're going to have an introduction, a thesis, you're going to have body paragraphs, you're going to have a works cited page, all that sort of stuff. But we're going to build it step by step. So the first thing to do for starting this, and what I would recommend you do for this week, is figure out what you want to write on. One of the ways to do that is to brainstorm on a topic. So you could do a free write, right? So when I was free writing, I might talk about maybe in the Bay Area, homeless shelters, strain on health services, rising rents, cost of living, etc. So come up with everything you can think about the topic. Or you could do this another way, sort of what I did when I started, which is brainstorm every major social problem you can think of. Come up with everything that you've read about in the news that you're like, yeah, that's a problem. Brainstorm as many as you can. Just do pages and pages of them. You could do them in a cluster, right, where you can do circles connecting and just expanding out and help develop more ideas that way. However you want to brainstorm on it, that's the first step. You can also kind of narrow it down and say, okay, what are the problems that if I could fix them, if I had the resources and the money, these are the problems I would want to fix. Or these are the problems that have affected me the most personally, or these are the problems that I see the most. Any of those sort of things. So brainstorm as many potential topics as you possibly can. Then go back in and narrow it down and say, well, I'm going to have to write this for the next month and a half. What's something I actually want to research and write about? What do I think is interesting? What do I actually care about? Pick the one that you care about or are most interested in and go with that one. So, Once you have picked a topic and you have an idea of what you want to write on, the next step is to take a guess as to what you think the solution is. This is called a hypothesis. So let's say I chose homelessness in the Bay Area. Okay? This is my social problem, and I want to solve it. What's my potential hypothesis? I don't know the actual answer because I haven't done research yet. I haven't, gone to the library and checked out books. I haven't done analyzed sources on the internet. I haven't done interviews, anything like that. But if I had to guess, I would say something having to do with housing. So maybe the solution would be, more affordable housing. And maybe more shelters. Probably that would, require a change in California or the Bay Area's, money tax allocation, because this all has to come from somewhere. But it's just a guess. It's just an educated guess as to what I think the potential solution is. That's the first step in your paper, and it's actually the first assignment for the paper. So in 2 weeks, if you look in your modules, coming up in week 8 is the essay topic choice. So in the essay topic choice, you have to choose what you want to write about, what social problem, and then a tentative hypothesis of what you think the solution is. That's it. All you have to do is pick an assignment, make a guess as to how you're going to try to solve it, how it should be solved, and that's it. And once you turn this in, I'll give you feedback on it. I'll say, yes, you can do this problem, or I'll give you advice on how to narrow it down and make it fit better into a 5 to 6 page paper. Or I may say, this isn't really a social problem, this isn't really appropriate for this sort of essay, you got to choose something else. I might also give you advice on, yes, I think your hypothesis is correct, but start doing research to find out if it is. Or, maybe this hypothesis is not as strong as it could be. Do some research and find out if you can build a better one. So that's the major thing to be working on to get started on the final essay. In 6 weeks, April 21st, the first draft of this essay will be due. So in a month, you'll have a month to write a draft of this essay, and that's going to include, an introduction, a heading, a title, a thesis statement, body paragraphs, a conclusion, a works cited. But this is still a draft, so I'm not expecting perfection. I'm not necessarily going to mark it down heavily if it's not fully completed. This is a draft. The requirements aren't going to be as stringent. I'll lay those out in the rubric, but they're not going to be quite as strong as they will be for the final draft, which should be much more polished. But the first step in doing this is coming up with a topic and a hypothesis. In my second lecture this week, I'm going to get started on how to do research, how to analyze sources. How do you figure out, well, what is the best solution to this and what isn't the best solution? What's been tried and what hasn't? So that's going to be the next step. The first step is pick a topic, come up with a hypothesis, then you do research, and then you start doing a draft of the paper. So probably this week we're going to be working on this assignment. The week after that we're going to be doing research, and the week after that you're going to be actually drafting the paper. And when we start on that, I'm going to get into the details of how do you write an introduction, what needs to go in an introduction, how do you write a thesis for an argumentative paper like this, and how do you write body paragraphs? What goes into a topic sentence? What kind of evidence do you need? How do you write a conclusion? All that sort of information. Okay, so there's one other discussion due this week, and it has to do with food production, and it involves a couple of essays from Mirror on America. So, you look at the week 7 discussion on big corporations versus small farmers. To do this discussion, you need to read 2 essays. One is Michael Pollan's essay, The Cooking Animal, which is page 104 to 110, and Bill McKibben's The Only Way to Have a Cow, 129 through 134. If you want more context on this debate, I would highly suggest that you watch the documentary film Food Incorporated, which you can find on Netflix and other places. I think you can get it on Amazon for $3 or something like that. Some of you may have already seen it. It's a really excellent documentary about food production in America, where it comes from, how it's all connected. And it'll give you more context for the essays themselves. You're not required to watch it, it's just a suggestion, but it's a very good documentary and it'll help with this discussion. There's also an interview with Michael Pollan, which is much shorter. It's about 6 or 7 minutes, where he talks about Food Incorporated, what gets discussed in it, why he thinks it's an important film. That will also give you context for this discussion. So the questions in this discussion are based on the readings, based on the interview with Michael Pollan, based on Food Incorporated, if you're watching it or watching parts of it. Do you support big corporations' production of food or small farms? They both have pros and cons. Which one do you support and why? So give some evidence from the essays or the film and interview about why you support one or the other. Once you've made that initial post, make sure to respond to other people. Maybe agree or disagree with them. Maybe if it's something surprising that you found about their post. Make sure to respond by the end of the day, Thursday, and then post something before next Tuesday. So read those 2 short essays for the discussion this week. Okay, so that's it. Work on the 2 discussions from Writing with Style and Mirror with America, and I'm going to post another video soon on how to start researching and analyzing sources for your final essay.